table. I'm Katrina Flukas, Senior Loan Officer, also known as Loans by Katrina. Thank you for pulling up another seat today. I have a special guest that I love. I've known this young lady for over 26 plus years. So I'm excited to introduce my friend, my sorority sister, my business partner, my realtor partner, Lori Gadson. Hey, Lori.
Hi, Trina.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
You gotta just get comfortable. What you usually call me?
Trina.
Trina.
That's right. Let me just get comfortable.
Yes, get comfortable. We're gonna have a good time today.
That's
talking
right.
about what we want buyers, what we wish they knew, what we want buyers to know. But before we get there, like I said, I've known you Keenan's 28. So,
and Austin is 29, almost 30. So they were toddlers.
They were toddlers.
So it's almost 30 years.
Just for perspective, it's a Miami perspective. I told y'all this is a Miami. We knew each other from Miami, and then we transitioned and kept the relationship.
Right.
And Lori, I remember it had to be about 4 years ago, maybe. We were on social media. And I had been doing some home buyer seminars, and you reached out and said, would I come to Albany? And I'm like, of course. And we just started talking and having dialogue, and it was like we just never left the space from us seeing each other, because you came up when I first bought my house in Atlanta, and you said something to me that meant the world. You were like, I will never do it without you. And friend, we have been doing it. Like, I need y'all to know between Lori and my husband, like a sister is, everything just really took off, because I started as a realtor and then I transitioned into loans, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, to be able to serve you, to serve your clients, and that you know who I am, that you've seen me in the different phases of Trina, Katrina, Dr. Katrina, Minister Katrina, all of the different things. So how long has it been for you in real estate?
I'm approaching year 7 this year. It feels longer now. I've been in the industry since 2015.
I was going to say, it seems
2015,
like
I've been
in
it much longer, but the transition was smooth. I worked with affordable housing. I was executive director at Habitat for Humanity. So let me see, it had to be about 2000 maybe in Florida, in Miami. I took a course at Gold Coast, but I wasn't in the same mind frame then. I thought, okay, it's all or nothing. We can't ease into it and do part-time, which is what I did this time around. So it's always been my desire to, be a realtor, but this time I just went for it.
So for somebody who might have missed what she said, she took the class when she was in Florida, but it wasn't the right time. So understand, just because this is not the right time doesn't mean that you don't plant the seed. So the seed was planted, and then she's like, okay, the time came for her to be able to walk into it, but she was prepared because you already had the foundation. So I don't want that to ever get lost on anybody. And one of the things that I know about you is you're that girl. You've always been that girl. You're going to make sure everything is done, and it's done well. It's done with integrity. So I love that about you, especially when I get your buyers and I'm working with them. I know that they've had pre-conversations. I know that you have, prepped them. They're not just coming to me raw and they don't know anything. So I appreciate that, because everybody, you don't get that, you know, and I love the honesty, because, that's a big thing for us, and how we just chat and talk. So one of the other things I wanted to share before we get deep into it is Lori is also a prayer partner for me, with me. Like, we don't just do the business. We literally walk hand in hand in this thing. And we have those real honest conversations, and I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Like, tell me when I'm going off the other side, and I know I can tell you. And it just works out so much better when we have an authentic relationship. So I appreciate you, sis.
It's natural. Thank you. Same.
So let's start here. We want to talk about buyers, all kind. But before we even talk about them, Lori, when did you buy your first house?
Oh my goodness, I was 28 years old. So we talking.
So
I ain't gonna say the
28.
number, but I was 28 years old, so that was a long time
I was
ago.
23 and I
Hmm.
went through and signed them papers and I
That's
did not
it. That's
know
it. No
nothing.
clue. No clue.
Okay,
My
just as
agent
long as
did
it's
not.
right.
She didn't even do a consultation. She took me to the property. At the time, we were signing, manually.
Manual. Mm-hmm.
She had those papers in that folder and was like, "Sign here." The next thing I know, I don't even think I got an inspection, Trina, to be honest with you. I really don't, because she didn't advocate for me. It was just like, it was a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was nothing. Yeah, it was horrible.
You know what? I spoke with a client about a month ago, and I think I talked
Mm-hmm.
to you about this particular client. And she, as we were talking, she said, I don't want to just be a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody who is going to take the time with me, who's not going to push me on the
Mm-hmm.
first deal that they see just because it works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said that, it makes me go back to when I purchased 3 homes before
Mm-hmm.
I knew what I
Oh,
was doing.
right,
My
right.
first was a condo, and then I bought a house, another
Mm-hmm.
single family in Miami. I pulled money from the condo to buy the house. I know that now, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that
Mm-hmm.
I was taking equity. Didn't know what that meant. Then
Right,
I
right.
sold the house, moved to the house in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and I found it online. I reached out to the agent in the community, and I still didn't know until I went through real estate school. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
all of the things. And I'm a homeowner, but I
Mm-hmm.
am oblivious to how
Mm-hmm.
I got to the
Mm-hmm.
point
Mm-hmm.
outside of the money and what seemed like a lot. And now it's just like, man.
Mm-hmm.
But conversation that we want to talk about today is what we really want buyers to know before they come and start doing anything. As they're just thinking, they're watching this podcast, they're seeing all the social media posts, graphics, the
Mm-hmm.
TikToks, and all of the things that
Yeah.
say you can buy with no money down, you can
Yeah.
buy and you
Yeah.
don't and you can have $100, you can do this
Yeah.
or you can do that, and you don't have to have credit,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that they're saying. So when you start with a buyer,
Mm-hmm.
what would be what is the first thing you would say, hey, this is where you start right
Mm-hmm.
here as a
Mm-hmm.
buyer.
Um, I always, in my consultation, contains of the good, the bad, and just
Mm-hmm.
the real, and the
Come on now.
whole home buying, especially with buyers, in totality. Um, and here's one of my pet peeves,
Okay.
but I do work through it. Buyers are savvy now, so they have access to tax assessors information. And one of the things that I hear a lot is, well, hey, they didn't pay, but X amount of thousand for the
Come on now.
property.
Come on now.
So I always say, listen, let's turn this thing around. Now, a house is an investment.
It
The
is.
house did what it was supposed to do. It appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a seller, think about what you would want in this situation. So we go there. We talk about also, not being picky when you're going into the buyer's process. If you're buying a resale, visualize yourself in the property.
That's right.
That is that person's belongings there. Think about what you will do. Don't let paint deter you. I mean, it's just a lot of things. They are getting more picky and more picky, but I try to undo that mindset.
So let's go back to
Mm-hmm.
your first point where you talked about them being able to go and look and see if it's me selling the home, what
Mm-hmm.
I paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
What I paid for my house has no bearing to what I'm going to sell it to you
That's
for,
right.
because it's also, we're looking at the market.
That's
We're
right.
seeing what the value is. So you're right in educating them to the extent
Yeah.
of saying, hey, it is an investment,
Absolutely.
and prayerfully it's going to do the same thing for you
That's right.
that it did for them.
That's right.
Because for me, I'm like, okay, let's not worry about what they're doing. Let's look at market right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see where you're approved at.
Mm-hmm.
So then you talk about the aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that you are amazing with interior design. You're amazing
you.
with your look. You're very
Thank you.
intentional with everything. And that's a service that you're providing
Mm-hmm.
also for
Mm-hmm.
your clients. So when they go in, clearly you would say, don't worry. If they don't like gray carpet, it can be hardwood floor. If you don't like a gray wall, it could be ivory. It could be whatever the
Yes.
things are. So are you seeing buyers that are taking heed to that when you tell them to visualize, or do you do it when you walk in the house and say vision yourself, or that's a pre-conversation?
That's a pre-conversation.
Okay.
And also when we get there, because we've done the consultation, we've
Okay.
looked at the pictures online.
Got it.
And when they get there, we talk about how this can, what you can make it. So it's about creating the vision. It's about storytelling, and not in the sense of not telling the truth, just storytelling,
That's right.
Creating the vision of them living there. And to sum it up, Trina, the seller has a product that you want and you want to buy. So we got to look at it just as the market, just as any product, supply and demand. You want the house and they want to sell it. So let's find a win-win.
What got you into the interior space of decorating and designing for clients?
I've not been formally trained. It's just something that I love. I'm just a HGTV fanatic, interior design. And I've never been a matchy-matchy person. I've always had an eclectic piece to my whole life, actually. So it was just a natural being in this field. It was really just a natural service that I was interested in providing. And I also have heard a lot of buyers say, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to decorate. So then it just flows naturally. We start talking about, well, you can get this, and then we'll pull up pictures, and that's how that happened.
I love it. And I liked when I saw you advertising that you advise it's not going to cost you $1 million to decorate. Because, a lot of people feel like I have to go to the big name brand stores and I have to get the sofa, the chair, the things, like all of the pieces.
Yeah.
But what are some of the stores that you were speaking to?
I was at TJ Maxx, Home Goods.
We can,
yeah, absolutely. And, pieces. If you break the elephant down piece by piece, there are some buyers that want to get it the next day. Some people don't have that patience. And it's something for everybody. That's what I say. But budgeting is important. So that's one of the things that we talk about in the consultation. You're in this house, you'll be here for a while, but you don't want to be house poor. You want to make sure that you still maintain the savings, because it's not whether or not something is going to happen. It's when it's going to happen. So you need to be prepared for those things.
So, Lori, when you're doing your initial consult with your buyers, because what do we need them to know? And they start out the gate and they say, well, I don't have any money that I saved for this house. I want to get a program. Now, what's your conversation?
So my conversation is then, now, well, listen, we can assist you with that, but you are still going to need money. I then tell them, as I get from you, and I appreciate you for being a stellar loan originator, you need to have some reserve. They're going to check and make sure that when you get in this house, you can afford this property. So if you don't have any money, that's just really a red flag. I have, as you know, the 4 quadrants. That person gets into one quadrant, is they're ready. Quadrant number 2 is, okay, we got a little bit of work to do. 3 and 4 is, we'll still cultivate that relationship, but you're not my focus. So if you need, just depending on how quickly you can save.
Okay. And what happens when you have the buyer that has the aunt or the uncle who has bought many properties in their ear? Because you have to have a true relationship with your buyer. But when you have somebody outside, I'm gonna say a side chick or a side man in their ear, that kind of starts picking it. How do you manage that?
So listen, and sometimes I'll just face it head on. If they're with them when we're touring properties, I always come up with a solution with what they have. And I'm giving factual information, not my opinion. I'm giving you facts. So, you can't argue with the facts.
I love that.
And also just giving scenarios to show how, I hear what you're saying, but that was 20 years ago, ma'am.
Come on.
So here's where we are today. And remember, yesterday's price is not today's price. So the market is not the same. The market is not the same as it was last month. No. So just, again, it's a mindset. You free the mind and the rest will follow.
I know that's right. Listen, y'all, nuggets, free the mind.
Free the mind and the rest will follow.
So what does a prepared buyer looks like when they enter your office for your initial consultation, or Starbucks or wherever you meet at?
So a prepared buyer is one that is saying, I've thought about it. I've given it prayer or whatever. I'm ready. They may come pre-approved and they may not. Okay. Of course, if they don't come pre-approved, then I got you. We'll refer them to you. We'll get them. And you can tell how quickly they get you the documents, how quickly they complete that application. And these are the things that we must do first. So if they take the time to do what needs to be done, then you're ready. If they're quickly giving you the turnaround with documents and getting that pre-approval and hey, seriously scheduling showings, then they're ready.
Mm.
But if I'm having to push them, then they're not ready.
So that's our unprepared buyer.
That's the unprepared buyer.
So when I look at them and I think about it, I of course we borrow. We won't say we steal. I borrowed the quadrants because I do have my number ones. They're ready. They're actively out looking. My number twos, I'm maybe waiting on a few documents. My number threes, maybe they're in credit repair, or four, they just mentally are not ready.
That's right.
Because if they're remotely ready, we can get them rolling and moving.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking at my number twos and my number threes, I really want them to be focused and locked in. So I'm checking in with them at least bi-weekly, if not weekly. And we've had some situations together where we've had clients that we had to really, really nudge. And we've had some tough conversations to say, hey, this person may not be ready. Much as we want home ownership for them, it's just not going to work now.
That's right.
And when they get ready and they come back and the light just flips, it works out. Now, we started talking about our kids. Austin was already a homeowner. How was that process?
He was 23 years old. In the process, he was 23 years old. He purchased a condo. And it was simply because it just did not make sense. There was going to be a rent increase. And at the time, he was a firefighter. And I was like, Austin, if you're going to pay this for rent on a one-bedroom, let's look at finding you a piece of property. So at the time, it was in Albany. And we ended up finding him a two-bedroom, two-bath for $30-something thousand. It was a wonderful investment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I love that. And he ended up selling it. Did he
ended up selling, he did
profit?
He did profit.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
He did profit. So he was able to get his money back and double his money for sure.
That's good. And you know what? I want to just pivot right here for a second and just say thank you to you and thank you to Austin for his service.
Oh,
because we know that, he is getting ready to be deployed and all that good stuff. So how is that, Mom?
God is with him. Like as I said before, when we heard about it, I said, God told me clearly. He said, I'm sending him there, so you don't have anything to worry about. And what can you do with that?
So let's talk about some of the things that happen with buyers. What happens with a buyer? They have signed a buyer broker with you, but they decide that they want to go to an open house. How do you handle that? Because it happens so much. We need to let people know when you lock in, communicate. So how do you handle that?
So if I'm not available, because open houses come up and sometimes you just can't be available.
Correct.
I always advise my clients, listen, we are exclusive. So if you go in and the agent, you just let them know that you're browsing. If they continue to approach you, then you let them know that you have representation. And I explain that process too. That, this document that you're signing, you do have the ability to terminate. I always say, I don't know why you would want to, but you have the ability to do that. You got the freedom to do it. But explaining that, listen, basically we go together. We're in a relationship, okay? We go together. I'm getting my Andy now. I'm getting my Andy now. We go together real bad, okay? So, just let that person know you got somebody.
We together.
And that's it.
In a committed relationship.
In a committed relationship.
I love it. I love it.
100%.
So you have always, since we reconnected on the loan real estate scenario, you've always utilized me. How does the right lender change the game?
Oh, Trina, that is you. Okay, that's you. Communication. And I've worked, with other lenders
for
since
sure,
you and I have been together. And my Lord, I always tell you, Lord have mercy, I'm blessed. I'm spoiled and I'm blessed. Communication.
I love that.
Once you have that consultation with that person, I am engaged at every interval. And it's important because buyers may not know this. Of course they don't.
Right.
If you and I don't communicate, then I can't effectively do my job.
That's
because
right.
if I need to put an extension or if I need to, either side, buyer or seller, if I need to do these things, I need to know from you that needs to take place.
That's right.
So I've had lenders where, I'll send the contract and you don't hear from them at all. Sometimes the buyers may not even hear from them. And they're like, I haven't spoken to her or him. And that's ridiculous. So when you get one, You better keep them. And I got one. Miss Loans by Katrina is it,
Yes,
y'all. Is
yes,
it. So
yes.
I appreciate you for being operating in
Thank
excellence.
you. And I appreciate your honesty because,
Mm-hmm.
as you heard Lori say, she has many clients. Some come to her with lenders
Yeah.
already. So
Mm-hmm.
she's able to see the information.
Yeah.
And I never feel like, because me and her go together real
And real
bad.
bad.
So I never feel like she over there doing a thing. Like, we talk, we know.
Yeah.
And if I can give insight and support her in the
Mm-hmm.
process with her clients, even though they may not be my clients, we're definitely going to do that so that we can get the client to the closing table and beyond, because that's what we really want to do.
That's right.
Because when you have a lender that is not aligned, it's frustrating trying to reach out to those individuals, because I've had it on the other end where I had realtors and I'm like, sir, ma'am, where is your realtor? They're not responding. We need the extension. We need this. We need the things. Like, what was the negotiation process like? And remember, most buyers are first time home buyers. So they don't even know what it is that they should be getting. So, Lori, I want you to tell a person that is a new buyer, what should they expect from their realtor?
So a new buyer, at the very least, you should expect to be educated. And so that's what I do out the gate at consultation. We talk about the process, whether you're a new buyer or a step up,
That's right.
or even a seasoned veteran buyer. I'm still going through every interval of the process, what you can expect, the handoff. In fact, sometimes we do a conference with our people just to go through what the process should look like. I explain important dates, how critical it is, communication, and to be attentive to emails or the portal from your lender. So we talk about it from start to finish, because my ultimate job is to get you to the closing table along with my lender partner. So we just, again, expectations, your monies, negotiations, inspections. That's a big one. That's a big one with inspections.
Let's sit right there for a minute with inspections, because I know sometimes when a buyer gets back the inspection and it says certain things on it, they kind of go down a rabbit hole. It's like, oh, well, they said the doorknobs are not working, or the this or the that.
Oh, Lord.
Because, sometimes it just looks a little different. It's okay. We are going to keep on going and doing what we need to do. Okay. Don't worry about it. Listen,
Did you turn it off?
It's this whole big old day, and you have clients that you need. So we are good to go. Don't worry.
On the side of the phone. Okay. Thank you.
You're good.
Okay, so go ahead.
With buyers, I'm going to pivot this way. With buyers and this current market, because you talked about, we wanted to go back and talk about the home inspection. How do you talk them off the ledge or guide them?
Yes.
I want to say talk off the ledge. That's the word that came to my mind, because if they hear, oh my God, it says that this is at the end of life. This is at, what do you do in that situation? Okay.
I manage it, because again, you're the expert. So you have to, you got to be honest with things that, I go ahead and talk about this before. Okay. Now listen, we are only cosmetic. Forget that. Remember we talked about your vision. Remember we talked about how you're going to change this wall to a different color. So we're not looking at cosmetics. We're not looking at blinds. We are looking at structural things that really, really matters.
Right.
You said you were going to change the flooring anyway. So what? The carpet is dirty. Let's make our blows count. So strategically, we talk about, and I manage that process. Okay. Now, things that are big, we ask for, and especially after I've spoken with that other agent, and we kind of know the back end story about this property, about maybe how the seller is like at the bottom line, and there's really no wiggle room. If you love
now, that's a pro tip. Having that pre-conversation, so you know where you have the wiggle room, and having a conversation with your buyer before we even get down this rabbit hole.
Before we get down to it.
I love that.
The bottom line is, if you are purchasing a resale, there may be some things that you'll have to change or that you'll want to change. So again, that being super persnickety, real picky, we got to leave that out the door.
So this market is a little different. We know that now buyers have access to the internet. They have social media. They see all of the things, and they're able to find houses quick.
Yeah.
And, they're looking more than you or I would be looking because
stuff.
they're excited.
Yeah.
When you were buying, I was looking, so you're looking, you're doing all the things.
Yeah.
But when we get into the process and we start moving, how do you prepare them? Because it's fast. And I know the Loans by Katrina experience, we're trying to close in less than, get CTC in less than 14 days.
Yes.
So how do you make sure like they're ready for the home inspection, the things? Do you have your preferred vendors that you, how do you talk them through that?
So again, that goes back to the consultation.
Okay.
See, we have already gone through the purchase and sale agreement, okay? So because when we're out there in the field and it's something that you like, we don't have time to go back through every single line. Now, of course, we're going to do it as it takes place, but they've already gotten the idea of how it's going to flow. I also, if I know you love it, you have called me so excited about this house. I've already gotten on my inspector's calendar, right? So when we get this contract, that's going to get accepted because I'm always going into any situation feeling like I got it. I'm never going to feel like I don't. I mean, granted, there have been some times where I've not gotten it, but you're always going in it to win it, not to come in second place. So anyway, I've already gotten on the inspector's calendar. So that's going to save us time. And I do explain the importance of getting that inspection done like day one, day two.
Absolutely.
Day one, day two. So because you got to give the sellers a courtesy if they need to get some estimates, you got to give them courtesy and also to process it all.
I love that because we've had some clients with some funny little things come up, from cracks in the driveway to pool covers to this, that, the third, all of the different things. So I love that. So you said something that I wanted to pivot to. You talked about the offer. How do you make sure you're making a strong offer and communicating it with your buyers so that you all, because if it's a house that you have insight that has multiple offers, what is that conversation like with a first-time home buyer or a buyer, period?
First of all, we're running the numbers, and thank you to you for even providing a service to your realtor partners. So I'm able to give them two scenarios. One, your lender numbers, and also the market, the neighborhood CMA that I provide for them. And to just, the strong offer for me would be one asking or slightly above if there's room, especially if you know it's competitive. And I tell them, again, I keep stressing mindset because this is so important. If you have already been pre-approved,
that's right.
You got the money to spend, you know you want to buy this house, let's spend this money because this is going to help you achieve the goal that you desire. That's so right. we put in quick closing. We maximize earnest money deposits, low due diligence periods, and just a quick closing to get them in that property, just to make it attractive.
I love it. When I'm looking from my end, because, I'm like, okay, when is the home inspection? 9 out of 10 times, when I ask you that, it's already been scheduled. So you're right. Scheduled. And that, me as a lender, that's a game changer because I am not wanting to have the buyer pay for an appraisal on a property that has not already been inspected and they're not sure that they're actually going to move forward. So once the home inspection is done quickly and we're good to go, you give me that thumbs up, it's appraisal and we're off to the races. We're getting everything done and we're ready to, it's a very quick process. So when I do my consultation with them, I'm talking to them about that. And, if they're traveling, because we've had clients that want to take a cruise in the middle of the process. We have clients that's going to go abroad or, whatever the things of life that may be. And it's like, okay, we have to get this done as soon as possible. And we want to be ready. And the home value estimator tool that I'm able to provide, it's a game changer in so many facets. It'll even let me know on the document, if you ever looked in the top left component, it'll say amount of accuracy, like how is it 15, 85%, whatever it is, so that like, hey, this is, and it gives you comparables and all of the things that a buyer would potentially or an agent would need or want to see. So that's a beautiful thing. So when you get a buyer who is not ready, how do you handle that? What's that conversation
Just
like?
Depending on what the situation is. If it's a credit issue, then of course, we're referring them to a credit specialist to get them more ready. If it's money, then of course you need to say, we talk about how you can develop a plan to get your savings up. If it's psychological, then we we work through that, because again, we talk about you're not going to be able to call anybody to fix something. Okay.
Right.
Even if we put a home warranty in place, there's a deductible that has to be paid. Just all of the real factors that come with home ownership. So if you're dependent on a landlord and you're not quite ready for these things, your savings isn't quite where you need it to be, then maybe we need to think about it. Maybe we need to think about it.
That's good. That was something that kind of escaped my mind. And when you said it, I'm like, especially when we have people who have rented for extended periods of time,
Yeah.
they have had they were able to call the people and have them come and do the things. But
That's right.
now it's you're responsible. So that's something to consider when I'm buying a house on an acre.
That's right.
Because I want the land, but someone has to cut the grass.
That's a bill.
All of the different things, if it's septic or if it's public, all of those things
All
that come with
HOA.
HOA. And what that looks like.
That's
that means
right.
I can't change the color of the house and make it hot pink. You know what I mean? Because there are requirements that go with it. So there are so many components that kind of go into the home buying process, and I'm happy to hear, and I know it anyway. I just, I'm happy to share with the audience how you go through with your clients that initial consultation, so that no one is blind. Because I promise you, Lori, when I bought my first 3 houses, I bought them, I won't say blind, but I didn't know the specifics, the ins and outs. I know I didn't do a home inspection on the first 2.
I know I didn't on the first one. I didn't on the first one.
And the third one was a new construction, so I know I didn't have a home inspection on it as well.
And even with that, you should get a home inspection. I mean, when you know better,
Tell
you do
me
better.
Why. With new construction.
Because the builders,
man-made.
Absolutely.
It's man-made.
That's it. To sum it up, it's man-made, and the builders make mistakes too. So you want to make sure this is an investment. You got to look at it like, like the investment that it is. You're spending a lot of money on this.
You are.
And so we have heard cases in the news where new construction has been faulty and floods and just, all kinds of things. So you want to not saying that it will not happen down the line, but you want to make sure you've done your due diligence to before you purchase.
So Lori, how do buyers find you? Do you have a big social media presence? Like,
I am on social media. I you know what? It's funny that you asked me that. I don't have like millions of followers, but for some reason, my content is reaching people and it is getting there, because I get calls all the time saying, I saw you on social media, or I was referred to you from somebody that saw you on social media. So it's making a difference. And my message that I would like to get across is that I am a good advocate I'm knowledgeable.
That's right.
Continuously growing. And if you call me to serve as your realtor, you'll get an experience. And a lot of my agents call me for dinner. I've had different cultures saying, hey, we're going to cook you some Latino food, this Jamaican food. So it's just, that gratifies me to know that I've touched them I've made an impact in their lives beyond the home buying, selling process.
So outside of the buyers, because I know you're not going to toot your horn, but I am. Outside of that, you also do a lot with training realtors. Like that's one of your areas.
That's one of my. I had a mentor when I was back with my prior brokerage. I did have a mentorship service, which I love, because being newly licensed 7 years almost. The class teaches you how to take that test, right? And it's up to you to get your own self-development now. Nobody's just going to hand it to you on a silver platter. So I saw a need and I created my lane in that regard. And I will honestly say, I think those agents have been very appreciative, and they've done great things since they've, received mentorship.
And you continuously learn and grow. You're still taking courses and classes.
100%. Every chance I get. Right now, I'm in the Georgia Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. So we meet monthly, and increase. It goes back to time. And as we talked in 2000, I don't know if I would have been as good as I am as a realtor back then, because just life experiences, even my professional career path as executive director, just all of the knowledge that I've gained throughout the years in my life. Now, remember, we're talking 30 years ago that I took the class almost. So up until now, I've learned so much that I can apply to my business. The wisdom, just the common sense, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm continuously learning. I love learning. I know that it never stops, and that's what I will always do.
You know, I feel that when we look at our paths, because your background, my background in education, all of that prepared for the now.
Oh,
that
for
was
sure.
a part of the planning a good solid foundation, so you know how to navigate in certain rooms,
100%.
so you're not restricted into the type of clients that you have.
That's right.
Or even if you're working with builders to market their communities and just do all of the things. So I'm excited. Sometimes I think about, you know, my friends that I've known from over 25 plus years and where we came from. We came from such humble beginnings. Like we didn't even know how things were, and then you know, to come out and be able to help people and have a servant heart is just, it's so amazing. I love everything that you're doing. I'm excited that I get to have a front row seat to it, and the growth, and not ever feeling like you know, I can't say something to you. Like I really love that. Even our clients that we share, just sometimes when we laugh and we think about them, and they're the funny little things that happen, and how we support them even after the closing, because that's where I want to kind of wrap up. After closing, then what? How do you still support your buyers?
So cards, every, you know, holiday cards. Sometimes I'll just pick up or text, you know, how you doing, and also drip. I have a drip that continues to send emails and just to touch bases and keep me top of mind. If you want to buy again, you know, if you want to sell what we purchased, I'm here. And and I'm so grateful to say that I have repeat business.
I love that.
Yeah, repeat business does. It affirms that you did a good job.
And you're branching out because your business was heavily in the Albany area.
Yes.
You're transitioning. What is that? What's next? What is that expansion
Well, I am
like?
expanded, and which I've always done since day one. I've never, you know, even in the Southwest Georgia area when I was there 100% of the time, I've always gone. I mean, this license that I have is across the entire state.
That's right.
Okay. Now, does it take a little bit more work? Yeah, absolutely. You need to be an expert in the location that you service. So that's keeps me researching new areas. So I've expanded to the South Metro Atlanta area as well. So from 75 South all the way up to South Atlanta area.
I love it.
Thank you.
So, Lori, I want to thank you for joining us and pulling up a seat at the closing table. I
Thank you
know
for
it will
having me.
not be the last time because of all that expertise and knowledge. We definitely got to tap in, and just
100%.
Also, this is my girl, my friend. She always has a seat at the table, so I'm excited. And I thank you guys for pulling up a seat with us today, and make sure you tune in for the next episode. God bless you guys, and have a good one.
My signature.